So as many of you know, Nike made its big mark by associating itself with basketball and had a lot of NBA, National Basketball Association sponsors support their work. So we are going to take a look at that data in this next example. So this is really fascinating data. It's all about the number of points NBA players made while they were wearing different types of shoes or different types of products. So for example, all of the NBA players made 35,000 points. All of the NBA players that were wearing Nike made 35,000 points. They made 12,000 rebounds and made 1,500 steals. So you can imagine as a sponsor, this is really good data to compare. If you're just looking at these numbers, Under Armour, Adidas, they're much lower in all categories compared to Nike. But if you really want to show off this data and prove your point, what we're going to practice is putting this information into a bar graph so that the data really pops out. So let's take a look at how to make a graph. We're going to make this graph look a little bit different just to give you some variety and show you that you too can choose the axis to go horizontally instead of vertically. In other words, the bars are going to run in this direction instead of like the last one, which ran in that direction. So we're going to choose the vertical axis and the horizontal axis, and we're going to put the number of points on the horizontal axis, and we notice that we are going up to the maximum is 35,000 points. So I'm going to go up in 5, so I want to make sure I spread it out nicely and I'm using up most of the graph. So that's what determines a nice bar graph. You're using up the majority of the graph. So counting along the horizontal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this would be 5,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10,000. 2, 3, 15, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25, 30, and then lastly 35. So notice how my data goes all the way across the page. Now I'm going to have on the vertical, I'm going to separate it into the different categories. So I'm going to look at Nike and Adidas and Under Armour. And I'm going to have to decide on a legend or a color code. So I'm going to have gray be the steals. I'm going to have orange be the rebounds. And I'm going to have blue be the number of points. So using that color, I'm going to now start my graphing. Let's start with Under Armour. Under Armour has 6,000 points. That's in blue. So I'm going to have, starting here, I'm going to go over to 6,000. And there's my bar. It's now on its side, this bar. And the number of rebounds Under Armour has is 1,500. So this is 1,000 here. We're just going to go halfway to the next, to 2,000. So there is the rebounds. And then the steals is 800. So it's less than 1,000. So it's going to be something like this. So there is Under Armour's stats on NBA points. I'm going to jump to Nike and take a look at what Nike looks like. The blue is 35,000, so we're going to go all the way to the end. So that bar here is very long. All right. If you have a ruler, that's what you should be using. It's hard to use that with a tablet. So it's 35,000. And you continue to complete that just the way I started. We're going to fast forward and take a look at what the finished product looks like. So let's take a look at the features of the graph that are important. It has a title. Their bins are clearly labeled. The axis is labeled, and there is a legend. So this is the four things that I'll be looking for when you submit your own bar graph for the project. Now let's take a step back and take a look at what this graph is telling us. If you look at how large the blue bar is at the top, Nike, it dominates. Is way longer than all the others, and it's way longer in all categories except for the steals. The steals are sort of small in each category, but generally speaking, I think the graph shows that Nike players, NBA players wearing Nike products score more points and get more rebounds. Than competitors, than the competition. So that's what the graph is telling me. Now, what is my conclusion? My conclusion is that Nike is a business success story. And what are my assumptions? What have I assumed by making that conclusion and using this graph? Well, again, I'm only comparing the three companies. I'm not comparing all athletic wear. I am also not taking a look at other sports. We're just measuring it with the NBA, so it might look very different, and probably very different because Nike is associated so closely with NBA. So we're just looking at the NBA. So the graph could look quite different if you chose a different sport.